Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I make tea with the herbs in my garden. Now this is something where I wasn't really sure if anybody cared enough for me to make a video, but it's the thing I've been asked about the most in the last few weeks, so I'm really excited to share what I do. Best thing about this is that it's super easy. So I would say that tea is probably what I use most of my herbs for. Now there are some that are just here for cooking, but you can make a tea with any herb that you want. They won't all taste like something you necessarily want to drink, but last year I thought it would be fun to try to make a tea with all of my herbs, and a lot of them, for example like rosemary, just kind of tasted like I was drinking like water that a turkey had been made in, because it kind of reminded me of like the Thanksgiving flavors. So I wouldn't do that again, but what we're gonna do today is I'll go through the herbs that I have again. I'm still waiting on the 6 additional herbs to come. I'll tell you which ones I would actually like use for tea that taste good to me, and then we will go ahead and make a cup of tea inside. This is what my tea rack is looking like right now. So the herbs that I've already used in the past to make teas are pineapple sage, lemon balm, chocolate mint, and where is my lemon thyme? Oh, it's up there in the corner, my lemon thyme. I actually like to mix my lemon thyme and my lemon balm together to make it even extra lemony. But like I said, I did kind of just go crazy testing some other flavors, and you can, if you like the flavor of, let's say, oregano tea, you can for sure make it and drink it if you want to. The other ones that are new this year that I'm sure will taste delicious are the strawberry mint, the basil mint, which again tastes more like citrusy or grapefruity than it tastes like basil, and then apple mint down here. So right now, none of the herbs are large enough yet for me to harvest the ones that are currently in my garden. That'll probably be in about a month. They do grow incredibly quickly, but what I typically do is I will harvest, I don't usually harvest more than like a third of a plant at a time. I'll tie the branches together, I'll dry them, I'll show you where I do that, and then I will use the dried herbs to make tea. Because when you're making tea, I'll go over all of the ratios, you need more fresh herbs because the flavor's not as potent than you would dry herbs. Now when the herbs dry, they do get smaller, so sometimes I do use fresh herbs if I'm just coming out and I want tea that day of something I don't have dried, but I would say 99% of the time I'm using dried herbs. So now we'll head inside. Even though it is really nice outside, I'll probably enjoy my tea outside after making it, but we'll go inside, I'll show you where I dry the herbs, and then we'll make a cup of tea. I don't know which ones I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to be using herbs that I've dried from last year. We are inside now. I'm going to show you where I dry my herbs, but right now my seed rack is empty because they're outside hardening off. But once everything is planted, I don't need my lights anymore, which will be soon. This rack and these lights get put away. And then last summer, when we were redoing this room, putting paint on the walls, I had them install 3 curtain rods on a wall. They are not used for curtains. They're used for drying herbs and flowers. And I very quickly even run out of room here, so they kind of get thrown around in random places, like I'll hang some from the handle of the windows, but this is where most of my herbs and flowers are dried. Now, drying herbs is really simple. There are a few different ways you can dry them depending on how quickly you want to use them. For me, I'm usually not in a rush, so I will just hang mine. I'll use some twine. I'll tie somewhere between like 3 to 6 of the individual stems together. I'll tie them with twine, I'll hang them from the curtain rods or wherever else I can find a place to hang them. The only thing you want to make sure of is that they're somewhere where it's darker, they're not in direct sunlight, because that can diminish the flavor of your herbs, which you don't want. There's no direct sunlight in that corner. That's actually the darkest corner in this room, even though the room itself isn't necessarily dark, but inside a closet, a basement if you have it, an attic if you have it, just anywhere where it's not in direct sunlight. I would say usually they are dry after about 3 to 4 weeks. I'll just touch them, and if they feel very crunchy and dry, then I'm good to go. If there's any sort of give whatsoever, if they feel like kind of bendy still, then I will just wait a little bit longer. Now, if you want your dried herbs today, you can use either a dehydrator, which I go back and forth on if I want to get one. I don't know if I'll use it enough, and I don't really like having things around that I don't get like regular use out of. unless they look pretty, but I don't think dehydrators necessarily look pretty sitting on your shelf or a table, but I do go back and forth. You can though, however, use the lowest temperature setting on your oven. Maybe it's around like 200, Google it before you do it. But I have done that before. I've just laid out my herbs on a baking sheet. I've popped them into the oven. I've left it for maybe a couple hours on the really low setting, and that dries them the same day. But again, most of the time I'm not in a rush, so I will just hang them upside down. So what I have here are all of the things I use to make my tea. First off, I have my teapot. This teapot we got as a wedding gift, and then this and the coffee pot we got are definitely the most used of the wedding gifts. In fact, I use them every day. So this one has like the measurements on it. It has a few different settings on here. Green tea, white tea, oolong, French press, boil for black tea. And then there's a keep warm function as well. But I love this teapot because of the different temperature settings that it has. Now the recommendation for most herbal teas is at 212. So that is the boil black tea setting on here. That's what I use. If you don't have like a teapot like this, just bring your water to a boil and then use that for your teas. I also have a cup, and then I have a loose leaf tea infuser. I don't know where I got this from, but there's a ton on Amazon or anywhere that you can look. And the herbs go in here. You close it up. This goes in the cup. Hot water goes into the cup, and then I usually steep for about 5 minutes, although sometimes I have steeped for 2 hours because I forget about my tea, and it does have a slightly stronger flavor, but you probably want to drink your tea a little bit sooner than that. So that's what I use to make the tea. Now what I have here are my two personal favorites. We'll see if the new herbs that I get this year challenge them for the top spots, but I have my chocolate mint and I have my pineapple sage. I store these in glass jars that I just found on Amazon. The brand is Urban Green, but any sealable glass jar will work. Now, because these have been from last year, so I have this problem where I will harvest and dry all my herbs, and then I will still use other teas that like I've got from the store because I'm like, well, these are special, so I want to save them. And then I keep saving them, and then I don't use them in time. And herbs can go off. Like if there was no scent to these anymore, there probably wouldn't be much of a flavor. So if you had herbs for like a couple years, you might want to give them a sniff, see how they smell. I just used this the other day. Oh, this one smells so good. The chocolate mint is always my favorite, especially for the scent. But I would say in terms of like, this is my fruity summer tea favorite so far, pineapple sage. And then this is definitely more in the winter time, although I really drink it throughout the year, but like I don't reach for my pineapple sage much in the winter. I reach for my chocolate mint. So this is what I store them in. Again, I don't store them in bright light. I'll show you, or I'll put in a clip of the shelf that I have that I got actually from my mom, just a shelf that she's had forever, longer than I've been alive. And these jars, which I'd already had previously, fit perfectly in there. It's almost like they were made for one another. And I like to use masking tape. That way, once I'm out of pineapple sage, if something different goes in here, I can swap out the masking tape and then just put the new label for whatever herb this is. One thing I did learn is that you don't want to crush the leaves until you use the herb. So I've already taken the leaves off the stem and then I just stored the leaves in here, but I used to pre-grind all of my herbs and then put them in jars, but you're releasing the flavor before you use them. So to get a stronger flavor, keep the leaves intact, and then you can break them up once you're actually using them. So the general instructions I follow. Crush dried herbs a little before steeping to help release the essential oils. Or if it's fresh herbs and you can muddle the herbs together, it's that you don't want to crush too hard, but you want to kind of find that happy medium so you don't bruise the herbs. I just, with the dried herbs, like use my fingers and lightly crush them into the infuser. Use boiling water to brew the herbs. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried herbs. So 1 to 2 tablespoons if your herbs are dried, 3 to 5 tablespoons if they're fresh, and this is per 1 cup of hot water. And this cup here, it's a little bit larger than a cup, but when I fill it, it's about a cup. So that's usually what I use to follow the recipes. Cover and steep for 3 to 5 minutes. That's what I do. Now, I'm not really into measuring specific quantities. So when I'm doing my dried tea, I use this and I just fill it up. When I'm using my fresh tea, I actually have a larger one, and that, again, I will just kind of shove until it's full and then put it into my cup. Now, I don't have a plug over here to plug this in, so I'm gonna boil the water, then we'll come back. While the water is boiling, something else that I've been doing that I just think is fun to do is I got this notebook and I've been putting in my favorite recipes. Not that I can't just remember which ones I like to mix together, but I thought it's kind of fun to have little recipes written here, little drawings. So I have here thyme and honey, 1 teaspoon dried thyme, 1/2 teaspoon honey, 1 teaspoon lemon juice. I have lemon balm and lemon thyme. Like I said, I like to mix those together. My chocolate mints in here. So anytime I find a combination, I'll add it here. Obviously, I won't just put, if I'm just doing strawberry mint, which I can't wait to see how that tastes as a tea, but I wouldn't just put like, add strawberry mint with water, because that's easy enough to remember. But any of the combinations I think are really nice. I'm also wondering if maybe strawberry and then my pineapple mint mixed together. That's one that's coming, my pineapple mint. I forgot if I've shared where all of the mints are from, so might as well tell you that now while we have the time. So my strawberry mint I got online from Stark Bros. My apple mint, chocolate mint, and basil mint are all from Gethsemane Garden Center in Chicago. And then from Mountain Valley Growers is the orange mint, pineapple mint, banana mint, banana and strawberry mint I'm definitely mixing together. Pineapple, orange, banana, another chocolate, another apple, and then a lemon bergamot. So I'm very excited for those to get here. And then I'll probably do a video showing the whole process of like going through and harvesting, drying, trying all of the teas, seeing how they taste. But that is where I've gotten my mints. I've never seen as many mint varieties in one place as I saw on Mountain Valley Growers. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely check out their website. I will link it all down below. Again, though, I haven't received the herbs, so I can't speak to like quality or timing of the plants, but they're not supposed to be delivered anyway until next week. So I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Still have to figure out where they're gonna go. I will also go ahead and get the infuser filled with tea. So what I do, again, the leaves are still intact. I just grab handfuls and crunch them up like that, trying not to make a huge mess. Crunch them up as I shove them into the tea infuser. Now, when I did in the past grind up my herbs before using them, they still had like a good enough flavor. I definitely can tell that there seems to be more flavor released when I'm crushing them right now versus when I'm crushing them like, I mean, I would have harvested these last year, so they would have been sitting here crushed up for 8 months before using them. So I definitely notice more of a difference using the whole leaves, crushing them up at the time of use. So that is the rest. I'm gonna put over there. I put the lid back on and twist. And then what I do is this comes with a little hook like that. I don't know if this is the way you're supposed to use it, but this is the way I use it. I loop the hook around and then stick it through the chain, because I've had the chain fall into the tea, and then to get the infuser out, you have to reach your hand in the tea or use a spoon. Probably should just use a spoon instead of my hand. But this way it stays on the handle, and then I can easily take the infuser out. So now let me add the water. Now I also need to put something on top to let it steep so that all the steam isn't coming out. And I think what I normally do downstairs, and what I'm gonna do here, is put a plate upside down over the top. And then I wait 5 minutes, and then we'll drink the tea. It has been 5 minutes, so now top comes off, well, plate comes off the top, and then I unhook the infuser, give it a few little dunks, and then use the same plate. These plates are from, I think it was the Affordable Antiques in Naperville Antique Shop. Plates are one of the things I love to get, even though I don't need any more than I currently have. So Now let's take a sip of the tea. It does come out yellow. It is still steaming, so this might be a mistake, but let's see. No, that's a good temperature. And this is, it's the taste of summer, but I still think I prefer it cold, although I do like hot fruit teas as well. I think apple mint I might enjoy more hot, but like pineapple sage just seems like it should be more of an iced tea, but this is still really good. So again, I can't show you how it tastes. I can describe it. Tastes like a hint of pineapple. I've also used the more fruity kind of herbs in still water or sparkling water and then left it like overnight in the fridge, drank that the next day. That is still really good. It's not quite as potent as this, but I still like the flavor that it adds. So I think I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this tea out on the deck, and that's it. That's it for this video. So I usually do, I'm definitely a coffee drinker in the morning, and then sometime in the afternoon is when I usually have my cup of tea around like 3 or 4, and I just love it so much. It's so nice. Herbs are one of those things where, similar to tomatoes, once I started growing my own and making my own tea or using those for cooking versus store-bought, which can also be super expensive, I realized how much better they tasted. And so it's almost kind of hard to go back to store-bought. With the herbs that I saved though, I mean, I can get through, as you've seen, a whole winter and still have herbs left over, especially for cooking, because I tend to use more for tea each time, and I have tea every day than I use for cooking. So that's it. That is how I make tea. Let me know if you have any other questions. I linked down all the resources that I mentioned below, and I will see you in the next video.